got that. That's a good one too. Oh my gosh. Come here. There we go. On the frog. That's what you like to see. He came unglued on it. We just saw him busting bait there a second ago, scooted up a little bit, caught a pike, missed another nice one, and that guy got it. They're beefy, they're hard to get hold of when they're built like that. Summertime largemouth on the old frog. That is good stuff. Let her go. We got it's a bass. Not a very big one at all, but right where he should be, right where the river starts to swing here. You can see it behind me. I'll get him back here. This is exactly the kind of stuff that we're fishing. So you can see up here the channel swings. We got a little island with an oxbow behind it here. And you can see right here the bank starts to get tight. And that's where the current's hitting the bank, and that's where we're finding a lot of these fish are grouped up. That current is really getting all those fish to group together, kind of group up in these parts where the current hits hard, where you have a pocket where the current hits hard. Those fish group up and they're blowing up on bait. We're seeing minnows everywhere along the bank on this stuff. It's pretty textbook. Every single time we get around it, there's minnows everywhere. If we get out of the current, there's no minnows. So that's definitely the key to the program here today, is finding where the current's hitting those banks pretty hard, and it seems that those largemouth are pretty grouped up. That was pretty sweet. Skip frog up under there. She went once again, right where the current meets the bank again. Not a very big one by any means, but anytime you're catching them on a frog, can't complain about that. It is early summer where we're at here. Fishing a little river system that's got a ton of large, oh, you got lucky. Like I said, a ton of largemouth in it. And it's that time of year where our grass is finally starting to get really good. As you can see on the bank, it's starting to grow up pretty good. The main weeds in this system that we're on is wild rice, northern milfoil, and there's some cabbage here and there, but as you can see, wild rice is a lot of the main vegetation that we're around, and these fish use it really, really well. And I know I'm not fishing wild rice now, but this is just kind of part of river fishing, especially right now. These fish are just sucked to this current, seems like I was saying. And a lot of it, it's a lot of bait fish oriented stuff right now. There's a lot of bluegills and little shiners around, and when we get around the areas that are right, we start getting bit. So I just kind of have a simple river 1-2 punch here. Nice Texas rig with a little compact flipping bait on there, and then a topwater frog. Those two are really all you need when doing this sort of deal, running these sort of systems, these little river systems. It's nothing to overthink. Like I said, these fish they're hungry, they're ready to eat. So you can kind of cover water with that frog, get it up in the nasty stuff, and then I have the little flipping bait here just for when I have times like this where I have fish blowing up on the frog and they're just not quite getting it. A lot of times you can flip in there with that little flipping bait, kind of pick those off. Just a simple 1-2 punch that just catches tons of fish this time of year. Oh, that was sick. It's a solid one. They're all just built so dang well. He's not super big, but look at how he's built. Like I said, they're putting the feed bag on, clearly. That guy's got it choked. Oh man, I'm gonna get back in there, because like I've said, they've been pretty dang grouped up, and they are jumping on this frog. They're letting you know when you're around some. That's what's kind of nice too with this 1-2 punch. I can cover water, you know, once I get in those really fishy sections, I can cover water with this frog, keep moving and grooving. I could skip it up into those places. And then once I either, you know, kind of pick it over, or have one that blows up on it, just doesn't quite get it, I can pick up that flipping bait and pick up 1 or 2 more in these areas. The current has to be hitting the bank just right in a lot of these places. You can see it in the grass where when we get around the right spot, a lot of this rice is pretty bent over. A lot of the grass is flowing pretty good. You know, they're in a pretty good current flow. And to find those areas where the current's flowing like that, a lot of times you can look at a map and get a general idea of where it's going to be flowing right. When you get those hard turns in a river, that's obviously an area where there's still hard bottom, but the current has carved out those turns in the river and on the bank. So those places where you have those, you know, tight 90s or you get kind of a horseshoe bend, those are kind of your sweet spots for where you know there's probably going to be a lot of current ripping through there. Same with after you get, you know, through those tight bends, you hit another turn and the river is flowing straight into it. Those are, again, kind of sweet spots where that current's going to be flowing good. And also picking apart the grass, you know, there's definitely a perfect recipe to it that we're noticing here today. Anytime we find rice mixed in with some of that northern milfoil, anywhere where that stuff is tight to the cattails and tight to the bank, those tend to be the kind of money spots. So those are some things to just keep in mind when picking apart a river system. He's coming at us. Oh, it's a solid one. That was cool. Frog had like just hit the water. Once again, right where that rice starts to get flowing good. Just a little guy, but again, anytime we catch them on a frog, I'm not complaining what size they are. It was a lot of fun whacking them on the big stick. Anytime you get to crack the belt on the big rod, pretty dang fun. As far as the setup goes, nothing too overcomplicated, just your typical frogging setup. This here is a 7.5 heavy. Heavy rod's important for the frog. Again, those are pretty good sized hooks that are in there. So you got to drive those home with that heavy rod. You get those hooks right in the dome, right where they should be, and those fish generally are not coming off. As far as the reel goes, I like a high speed gear ratio reel. It helps me just make a lot of different casts. So I'm kind of picking apart these areas, flying around, trying to find more fish. It also helps you kind of work that frog, you know. Sometimes those fish will want that frog just burning. With that high speed, I can really pick up a lot of line. With that too, on a long cast, you got to pick up a lot of line. Even a short cast, I mean, it's important when setting the hook. You want to pick up your line and get a tight feel on those fish, so that way you drive that hook home. As far as the line goes, 50-pound braid, I don't like anything too thick. And that goes for both setups, the flipping and the frogging setup. I like 50-pound braid. If you're doing it right, if you're tying your knots good, you'll never break it. If you're fishing really crazy thick stuff, you can definitely go up to 65, but I think 50 is kind of that perfect spot where you can still cast really good, be accurate with it, but again, you're not gonna break off. And you'll see here, I have yellow braid on this rod, and you might look at it and think, what the heck, did this guy run out of line, just threw on whatever he had in the boat? But I'm actually doing it for a reason. Again, I flip and frog with a setup like this, and with that yellow high vis line, it's really good for seeing when they have your bait. With this frog, sometimes, you know, especially on a long bomb cast, if I'm up in crazy thick stuff, you know, they'll blow up on it and you don't see if they have it. But with that yellow braid, I can see if they have it. They're gonna start swimming off with it and I'll see my line taken off. And the same goes with flipping. When I flip into a heavy patch, I'll know I'll have one if I don't even pick up, and all of a sudden I see my line swimming, I know that I got one. So it's really nice just to know that that fish has that thing. With the frog, you don't wanna set the hook prematurely and, you know, pull the frog out of there. Just to give it a little bit more of a camouflage look, I'll just take a Sharpie, draw up, you know, 2-3 feet above where I have the bait attached. Those fish are never gonna see that braid. So that's a little trick that I like doing when I'm frogging and flipping, using that high vis yellow braid. And for the flipping setup, again, it's super similar to this that I'm holding in my hand here. They're both pretty much the same exact setups. 7.5 to 7.3 heavies. That's kind of the bread and butter when you're using braid, flipping, frogging. Oh, that was nice. That was sweet. Anytime the braid is squealing, again, not a very big one, gets me giggling like a little kid. That's so dang fun throwing that frog. And again, those setups, they're pretty dang similar, like I said. 7.3, 7.5 heavies. You just can't go wrong when you got a big hook that you're trying to drive home. You just want that heavy rod. And again, for both setups, what's nice too is having a heavy rod that has a little bit of tip to it. You can see that one there. It's got a little bit of bend at the end of the rod. For the frog, that allows you to kind of walk that bait. Sometimes you just got to kind of walk that thing to entice them into biting. And as far as the flipping setup goes, again, it's super comparable to the frogging setup. 50-pound braid, plenty strong to rip these fish out of the grass. And for the bait, just using a real compact little creature style bait. Having a real slender bait like this that doesn't have a ton of appendages helps it get in and out of this grass. This rice, when it's young like this, it can get real sticky and want to glob up on your baits if they're too big and bulky. So having that real slender profile, that bait just slips in and out. Again, and it looks like a lot of the bait fish too. A lot of these, you know, the bluegills, the little minnows that are flying around. Does a good job mimicking that with just that green pumpkin color. It's super natural. And just a 3/8 ounce, half-ounce weight. Again, this stuff isn't super crazy thick right now, so you don't need a super heavy weight for this stuff. But and then with that, just a little 3/0 BKK flipping hook in there. Again, keeping things super, super simple. Oh. Oh, come here. Come here. Oh, yeah. That is what we've been after. Look at her covered in that grass. They're up in. Just going down another one of these bends in the river. And just caught one on a frog there, just a little bit back. Picking her apart with the Texas rig. That is a stud. Look at how she's built. Summertime bassing, man. Once that grass gets thick, grab the braid, grab a frog, flipping rig, that 1-2 punch, and go put to work on them, man. Let's get her back.